Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. Sit down, grab a snack, get comfy because today's just gonna be a fun, chatty little video. I the other day noticed that Goodreads released this list of most read books so far in 2026 out of everyone who has been, I guess, participating in the Goodreads reading challenge. And so I decided I wanted to go through that list of books and just see what everyone else is reading and just give my thoughts, comments to what I see. Okay, so as we start getting into these most read books of the year so far, you might notice that a lot of these are actually also book of the month picks. And that's honestly just because book of the month is just that good at choosing books. So I do want to thank Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. I just received my books of the month for the month of June. And so I want to share what I got with you guys. Now, if you don't know what Book of the Month is yet, they are a book subscription service where they curate a list of, I don't know, anywhere between 5 to 6 books per month of new releases for you to choose from. You can choose 1 book a month, you can choose 2 books a month. I usually end up getting like 3 or 4 books of the month every single month because their selection is just so incredible. But for the ones I chose this month, oh my goodness, I feel like these are going to be really emotional, just wonderful reads. So the first one I got is Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt by Ben Reeves. This is about Travis, who is actually Death. So we have a little bit of a magical realism element here, and Travis is Death, not in the sense that he is literally the Grim Reaper, but what he does is he appears during people's kind of last hours of their lives to help them offer comfort. And so because Travis faces death so often, he's kind of built this attachment with death and he just kind of separates himself from it. However, during the story, he meets his neighbors and starts getting to know them well. And his neighbors are actually a midwife and her daughter. So as he just gets to know them more, spends more time with them, he starts connecting to life again because, you know, obviously with her being a midwife, that's very much on the other side of the life cycle, on the birth side. And so he starts getting reminded of, you know, the things you want to live for and about what it means to truly be alive. And I just feel like this is going to be the most touching story. It's definitely a book that I'm so in the mood for these days. So that's my first pick of the month. And then my second, I am very excited about this. It's Trope Sick by Lauren Oakey. I've heard some really great things about this author in general, but in this one we have 2 characters who are ghost writing a novel, a romance novel, but then they end up realizing that they are actually kind of living the same tropes that they are writing. Like the 2 of them together are kind of the tropes of the romance novel that they're writing. So we have a little bit of a meta situation going on. I've heard that Lauren Oakey's writing can be quite emotional, so I'm excited to dive into this one and try out a new author. Actually, this book and Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt by Ben Reeves are both new authors for me as well. And that's something that I do love about Book of the Month, is that they have helped me really branch out, try new authors, try new genres, and I know, like, for the most part, the books are going to hit. If you do want to check out Book of the Month, which I always recommend, for a limited time you can join and get your first book for $9.99, and you'll also get a free hat like this one. How cute. I love all my Book of the Month merch using the code DOGDAYS. So definitely check out Book of the Month. Link will be in the description down below. Let's get into these most read lists. So I think there were a couple of different categories that Goodreads put out there. So the main idea of it is that these are the most read books of the 2026 reading challenge so far this year. And this first slide is the overall top 12. So the most read books in any genre. So we have number 7 to 12 first. I have read, how many of these have I read? Oh, I've read 5 out of 6 of these. The only one I haven't read in this list is Theo of Golden by Alan Levi, which actually looks like a gorgeous cover. I kind of want to look that one up. Actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's look that one up and see what it's about, because I don't know what that one is about, actually. I've seen it floating around, like I am familiar with that cover, but I have no idea what it is. Oh my goodness. Wow, very high rating. It's rated a 4.48 and it has 402,901 ratings. So Where have I been? Where literally have I been? Okay, this is a literary fiction. Oh, one of the tags on this book is Christian fiction, which I don't think is a subgenre of fiction that I read too much of. One spring morning, a stranger arrives in the small southern city of Golden. No one knows where he has come from or why. His name is Theo, and he asks a lot more questions than he answers. Theo visits the local coffee house where 92 pencil portraits hang on the walls, portraits of the people of Golden done by a local artist. He begins purchasing them one at a time and putting them back in the hands of their rightful owners. With each exchange, a story is told, a friendship born and a life altered. A story of giving and receiving, of seeing and being seen. Theo of Golden is a beautifully crafted novel about the power of creative generosity, the importance of wonder to a purposeful life, and the invisible threads of kindness that bind us to one another. Okay, so it seems like, yeah, a literary fiction, definitely prioritizing human relationship, human connection, and human experiences over like some sort of an intense plot. Definitely sounds interesting. I'm kind of intrigued at that premise. It sounds a little bit like Before the Coffee Gets Cold, but without the magical realism bit in it. I don't know how that hasn't like really been on my radar yet, but okay, that's number 12. For the rest of these, Wuthering Heights, I mean, I think understandably is a part of the top 12 so far this year. It's a classic, a very well-known classic, but also the movie adaptation did come out earlier this year. So I feel like a lot of people who even don't normally read classics decided to pick this one up at the beginning of the year because they wanted to watch the movie. So that makes sense that it's up there. And I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, I think a lot of you guys know this already, but Wuthering Heights was not my favorite classic. It is the type of story where you do get very frustrated with the characters. And I understand that that was kind of the point. That was a big part of the point and the plot of the story, but it was just too frustrating for me. It was too annoying for me. I didn't really love the story. I did love the setting of that book though. The way Emily Bronte set the scene, the mood, that gloomy, droomy, is droomy a word, setting was really great. So yeah, while I love the vibe of Wuthering Heights, I didn't really love the characters in the story. In 10th place, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. I think, yeah, this one makes sense too. Didn't it win the Goodreads Choice Award for its category? It either won or was pretty high up there. It also did win the Book of the Month Lolly Award, which is the Book of the Month version of like the best Book of the Month selection of the year. So I think because of a lot of the hype it got near the end of last year when everyone was kind of announcing like end of the year voting book award type things, a lot of people ended up reading this book in January, including me actually. I did read Wild Dark Shore in January for a themed reading vlog where I read like the best books of 2025. So makes sense. I thought Wild Dark Shore was good. I actually didn't love it as much as most people loved it, but I did think there were some good messages and themes in there. Again, the setting of it, very great, very moody. And I thought how it tied in this theme of like trying to preserve species and save the world in this way, tying in with our characters and their journey with each other, and how it also showed this look at survival and how you have to trust others when you're just in the survival mode, even if you don't fully trust the other person. I thought the character dynamics in this book were very interesting. I just think there were some things, particularly with the romance subplot, that just felt very jarring to me and didn't make sense in the situation. But aside from that, yeah, a really strong read. The Wedding People by Alison and Espach in 9th place. I enjoyed this one. I did. I remember I read this last summer, I believe, and I found it to be a really surprising read. I had no idea what I would think about it diving in, but it ended up, making me laugh. It did have this subtle, maybe not so subtle sense of humor, kind of poking fun at a dark situation, very satirical reading. And also I found it to just be so honest, like really being blunt about, I don't know, certain uncomfortable human moments or intrusive thoughts that people can have. I thought this was quite well done, and I am excited to see what the movie adaptation will look like for The Wedding People when that comes out. Number 8, Heart the Lover, a book that I recently read. You guys, if you watched my 24-hour readathon, I read it in that vlog. Honestly, another solid read. Lily King has a way of stringing a sentence together. Also kind of having that blunt writing style where she portrays like just humans, again, in a very honest way. Kind of, kind of similar tone to The Wedding People, I'd say, but maybe a little bit less funny. But I did find this one captured just like love and relationships between humans over many years. series very well. In 7th, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Again, I feel like this one, very expected with the movie adaptation that came out in January. A lot of people did rereads of this book before that movie came out, and so yeah, I can definitely see why this one made it to the top 12. I do think though this is my least favorite Emily Henry. Still to this day, it does read more like typical romance. I think a lot of her other stories just dove deeper into feelings and friendships and all of that, and I found that People We Meet on Vacation, yeah, just felt the most pure romantic comedy, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not what I go to Emily Henry for. All right, and then number 1 to 6. I've read 4 out of these 6. So the 2 I haven't read are Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid. Definitely can see why that one's up there. I mean, this one took the internet by storm again with the TV series adaptation. It really has been the year of series adaptations. It's like, if you're a reader, if you love books, just expect to have a lot of your favorite books being adapted this year or next year, because there are so many, which I think makes sense and I think is a good thing, because I was finding that a lot of it just felt repetitive. A lot of it felt very done, just very overdone, nothing really refreshing. A lot of stories I found in movies and TV just weren't creative and innovative anymore. And I feel like they just needed to go over to books, because that's where, you know, the good writers are. That's where the people with the good stories, the creative stories are. And also obviously reading has become so popular in the past couple of years. I think it definitely makes sense. But Heated Rivalry is one I did not partake in just because I'm not a sports romance lover. It's just not a genre that I go towards. I did actually end up watching the Off Campus series though, which I know is also a sports romance, but you guys, after watching season 1 of Off Campus, I'd never read the books, The Deal by Elle Kennedy, never read those, but after watching season 1, I was just like, this is more of a musical than a sports romance, if anything. Like, this is just a music themed, like, artsy love story, and I kind of loved it. It truly felt like High School Musical to me, but just add a little more nudity, add a little bit more spice in there, and a few more mature themes. But I honestly loved the Off Campus series, the TV series, not the books. I don't think I'll ever read the books, but I'll be happy just continuing to watch that show. Heated Rivalry, though, I do think does focus a little bit more on hockey. Could be wrong on that. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then the other one that I have not partaken in this top 6 is the Freida McFadden, Dear Debbie. I still have not read a single Freida McFadden book in my entire life. Fadden? I feel like I just said Fadden really weirdly. Yeah, I still haven't read a Freida. I know Freya has been begging me to pick up a Freida at some point, and maybe I will this year. I'm thinking because I have a Kobo now and I can connect to the library through Overdrive using my Kobo now because I'm in Canada and I could never use the library with my Kindle. There is a higher chance now that I might, maybe around spooky season, pick up a Freida in that month, just because I could borrow it from my library and read it on my Kobo, you know, like no stakes reading it that way. I don't know what to expect with Freida McFadden. Like, for everything that I've heard points to the fact that her books are just kind of junk food books, not really well written, but just fun, easy to blast through, very twisty. So I genuinely don't know what I would think of her books. So there's that. I mean, I would probably start with The Housemaid, right? That's the first one that you're supposed to start with her books, because I think some of them are series, some of them are interconnected. I don't know. I'm very new to the world of Freida. I have no knowledge of the universe, the lore, anything. But Dear Debbie, I'm assuming that one is one of her books released this year. Out of the ones I have read though, number 6, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, absolutely. Wasn't this one of the top books of last year too? I guess this is also another one that, you know, it won all of the end of year awards last year. So a lot of people who hadn't read it yet decided to pick it up early this year. Honestly, one of my biggest book cries came from Atmosphere. Number 1 top book cry for me is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. That book destroyed me like no other. I genuinely don't think I have ever fully actually recovered from The Burning God, but that's my number 1 book cry, and Atmosphere I think is my number 2. Like, I full on sobbed, and I'm so glad I got it on camera because I can relive that feeling and experience forever. My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney at number 5. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this. It was my first Alice Feeney that I read. I really liked how twisty it was. It just kept you engaged because at the end of every chapter almost, there was kind of a mini twist. So instead of just slowly building suspense throughout the entire book, which this book did also do, we had all of these little mini twists that popped up throughout the entire book. Yeah, almost at the end of every single chapter, and it just kept you turning the page. It was the perfect trick to keep you engaged in this book. So yeah, I had a lot of fun reading that one. The Correspondent in number 3. Yeah, another book that I sobbed to. So you guys know how much I love that one. And Project Hail Mary at number 1 by Andy Weir also makes sense. I think that's like, is that the movie of the year? Do we think that's going to be the movie of the year? Or do we think Sunrise on the Reaping later this year will be the movie of the year? I don't know. Those are two huge book to screen adaptations that are coming out this year, and Project Hail Mary was such a success in my opinion. I think it was an incredible adaptation, had a perfect balance of staying true to the books and staying true to the tone of the books as well. I'm so glad they kept it funny because that was one of the best parts of the book. You know, it was a space story that's so intense, so high stakes, but you add in a bit of humor, and that's what differentiated the book to other like sci-fi space books for me. And also same with the movie adaptation. I feel like we get so many space movies that are just so like serious. They're supposed to be there to make you think and break your brain. And while Project Hail Mary definitely had a lot of themes, lessons in life to think about, I just love how it's presented to you in this heartwarming way that makes you smile, makes you laugh, makes you cry. And we do need, I think, just, yeah, more easily digestible space stories like this. So I loved Project Hail Mary, book and movie. So I think that deserves to be number 1 for sure. Okay, we have a couple of top 6 in specific genre categories as well. So let's go contemporary fiction next. These are the top 6. So number 1, Correspondent. Number 2, Heart the Lover. Number 3, The Wedding People. Number 4, Wild Dark Shore. Number 5, Theo of Golden. We've talked about all of those, but number 6, making its way into these top lists, Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall, which I did also read. I thought this one was pretty good as well. I think it was a solid 4-ish star read for me, I'm pretty sure. A good mix of a historical vibe, but plus this suspense mystery thriller kind of feel, which I found fun. This is another one where I think the strength of it was setting the tone, the mood of the book, and also catching me by surprise with certain plot lines that I didn't expect just from reading the synopsis. It followed these characters where, you know, I don't even think I was completely rooting for them the entire time, but sometimes that makes things more interesting. I expected that to be near the top. In historical fiction, we have Atmosphere number 1, Wuthering Heights. Would we call Wuthering Heights a historical fiction? I feel like with classics, they should just be in their own classics category. Is that a historical fiction? Am I just wrong? I feel like that doesn't really fit in there. I feel like there should be a classics category. What do you guys think about that? Because I'm actually, let's discuss in the comments. What do you think about classics being in a historical fiction category? I'm on team no. I feel like it just doesn't fit. Can't really articulate why at this moment in time on the spot, but maybe I'll think a little bit more on it, and yeah, we can discuss in the comments on that. Number 3, The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. Honestly, that kind of surprises me. I feel like The Nightingale is kind of a constantly popular book. It's definitely Kristin Hannah's most popular book, which I think makes sense. I think it definitely appeals to a larger audience because of the time in history. I think it's just a time in history like World War II that a lot of us are familiar with, a lot of us really resonate with, a lot of us studied this period in school, and so it's just a very approachable, like diving entry point into historical fiction, I feel like, because a lot of us do have a lot of background knowledge of World War II already. So all right, that's number 3. Number 4 is The Women by Kristin Hannah, which actually is my favorite Kristin Hannah book that I've read. I absolutely love this one. I mean, I think Kristin Hannah in all of her books, most of her books, really highlights the strength of women and highlights the stories of women who are underrepresented. And I feel like The Women did this so well. It follows a nurse in the Vietnam War. And I genuinely learned so much about history while reading this, which which is what I love about historical fiction. It's definitely a more engaging way to learn about history rather than like reading a textbook, because you're following a more personal feeling story. But yeah, I learned so much about this war, and I think it's just so bizarre and so unfortunate that, you know, the thing about the Vietnam War was that people were saying there were no women in the Vietnam War, where in fact, in reality, there were so many women that played such an important role in this war, and this book highlighted all of that, again, in a very personal, emotional, human way. So yeah, that was my favorite. In number 5, Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I actually have never seen that cover of Hamnet. I've always seen the more like embroidered version. I'll put the version of the cover that I normally see on screen, but I've never seen this version of the cover. This one is about Shakespeare and his family, but it's not told through Shakespeare's point of view. Like, it doesn't really focus on Shakespeare, but focuses on his wife, I'm pretty sure. And I've heard incredible things about this book. I do really want to pick it up. I also do want to watch the movie at some point, but I'm holding out. I am waiting to read the book before I watch the movie, but I've heard wonderful, amazing things about both the book and movie. And then in number 6, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid is still trending. That one honestly, for some reason, really surprises me. I feel like, I mean, we all know Taylor Jenkins Reid. We all know she is such a popular author and well-deserved. I'm a Taylor Jenkins Reid fan, and I think she deserves all of the fame and attention and success that she is getting. But I feel like The Seven Husbands did come out a couple years ago. So yeah, I would expect Atmosphere to be at number 1, but I wouldn't expect The Seven Husbands to be still in the top 6. I don't know. But maybe this is also, it's kind of the Nightingale effect. You know, I feel like it is Taylor Jenkins Reid's most popular book, so maybe a lot of people read Atmosphere and then loved it and then decided to go through her backlist and went to Seven Husbands next. I don't know. I mean, I love Seven Husbands, so I do love that, you know, it's still at the top of these lists, but I actually didn't expect that. Okay, mystery and thriller category. I've only read, wait, why are there 5 Freidas in this list? That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. How has Freida taken over this entire genre? I feel like that itself needs to be studied. Maybe I do need to read a Freida. This is my sign. It's like she has taken over this entire genre to the point where only one of Alice Feeney's books can break this list from becoming a full Freida top 6. What? Okay, so we have Dear Debbie by Freida at number 1. We have The Housemaid at number 3, Housemaid's Secret at number 4, Housemaid is Watching, and then The Intruder. So I'm guessing The Housemaid, all of those Housemaid books, is it a trilogy? Like all 3 of those are in the same collection? I don't know. And then I'm assuming Dear Debbie and The Intruder are standalones. I don't know how that's possible. I genuinely don't know. Like, how can one author release multiple books a year? I think Freida's already released, what, 3 books this year and has another one coming, but then also take over all of the top charts lists. How is that possible? Okay, I'm gonna need to deep dive. Maybe I will need to read The Housemaid at some point later this year. I feel like I don't want to do it right now. Maybe I'll do it in October. Okay, and then yeah, Alice Feeney, My Husband's Wife, we've already talked about. That is hilarious. Top romance. Okay, we kind of have a little bit of a heated rivalry takeover here as well. Not as strong as a Freida takeover, but we have 3 books from the heated rivalry series at numbers 1, 3, and 5. That's kind of satisfying that it's in every other place. Like, it's not in a row. It's just perfectly evenly spaced out. So we have, yeah, heated rivalry at number 1, game changer at number 3, and The Long Game at number 5. Do I need to read a heated rivalry book? You guys see, this is what happens. I do feel FOMO very strongly, and I do feel left out sometimes when I just am not in the know. Do I need to read a heated rivalry book? And from that follow-up question, if I were to, do these need to be read in order? Because I've kind of seen different preferences and rankings through the series, and I think these are interconnected standalone books from what I've heard. I might be wrong in that, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are, like, do I need to read heated rivalry first, like as my entry point, or is there another book that you guys are thinking I would probably like better, because you guys know my reading taste, so let me know. And I can't guarantee that I'll ever pick up one of these books, but maybe one day if I'm feeling, I don't know, very slumpy and feel like I just need to pick up something that I wouldn't normally pick up. Apart from that, in number 2, we have People We Meet on Vacation. We already talked about that one. In number 4, The Night We Met, the new Abby Jimenez release from this year, which I wasn't a fan of, which so sad because I love Abby Jimenez. bananas. And most of you, I think, probably already know my thoughts on this book, but just in case this is the first video of mine you're stumbling on, I just felt like a story like this needed to be a contemporary fiction or a literary fiction. I feel like it didn't work in the romance genre with the boyfriend's best friend trope and the way Abby did it. I liked the direction she went on with kind of presenting the issues of, you know, the current boyfriend and showing how, you know, it was really just wrong place, wrong person, wrong time, and how the best friend was just so much more available and ready and caring for her at the time. But a story like this, I just feel like can't be done justice if we don't get all three point of views, or if we don't get just a wider view of every party involved in the situation. I think this book focused way too much on the pretty, the happy of the situation, and focused too much on our two main love interests and their kind of growing connection with everything. It was just presented too perfect, too romanticized, too clean, and I felt the story had to be a little bit messier. Like the last 10% of this book was what I wanted the entire book to be, because that's when we finally confronted our feelings and emotions and conflicts and all of that. But 90% of this book just felt way too perfect and happy for me to enjoy it. And then in number 6, In Her Own League by Liz Tomforty. Is this a part of the Mile High series, or is this something new from her? Because Liz Tomforty is another author that I've never read before. I am kind of interested to read her books because I have actually heard really wonderful things, and I have heard that she does kind of found family very well, I think is what I've heard. And also like her romances do dive a little bit deeper into themes and everything, which is what I personally like in a romance. I've always been hesitant to jump into hers because, again, sports romance. It's so funny that that's the trending romance subgenre at the moment, because it's just completely not me. But I do think at some point I probably do just need to push my sports prejudice aside and try out some more sports romance. And I feel like these ones definitely intrigue me the most, just because of the reviews that I've seen on these ones. They sound more like books that I would enjoy. So let me know. Yeah, maybe let me know, out of all the sports romance books, which ones do I dive into? Maybe is it the Liz Tomforty ones? Okay, good old romantasy. This is so predictable. Actually, kind of surprising that Brimstone is at number 1. It topped like the big leaders in romantasy, and by big leaders I mean Fourth Wing and ACOTAR. Those are definitely the big superstars, the big like main headliners in this genre, and I'm surprised that Brimstone is number 1 versus ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. But great job, Callie Hart. I personally am not a Quicksilver fan myself. I did read the first book, didn't love it, definitely decided to not continue the series, but hey, you know what? Great that it's at number 1. And then at number 2 and 6, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Surprised that it's not Onyx Storm, because I feel like that's a bit of a newer release, even though that was released January of last year. So maybe it's just a little too far gone. And then number 3 and number 4, ACOTAR and ACOMAF. Yeah, very predictable, but also I feel like maybe not even that predictable, because yeah, there wasn't a new Fourth Wing release this year. So surprised that, I don't know, readers are still either reading it or rereading it again. ACOTAR I think definitely makes sense though, because of the announcements finally of the next books coming out. I think a lot of people are doing full rereads of the series this year to be able to catch up, refresh in time for the new release in October. Top fantasy. Okay, you know what? There is actually one in this category I haven't read. I was expecting to have all 6 out of 6 of these ones read, but A Song of Achilles I read, The House in the Cerulean Sea, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Catabasis, Bury Our Bones, read those all, but I still haven't read Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which is at number 6, and I do need to read this. I know, I do need to. I get so many recommendations for this book, like at least once a week, I'll get a personal recommendation to read this book, and I know I do need to read it. I feel like I'm gonna love it. From what I've heard, this is kind of a bit of a more abstract fantasy read. Maybe does it feel kind of like The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern? That's kind of the vibes I'm getting from the synopsis of this book and from the cover and the vibe and the feeling and from everything that I've heard. But yeah, I've heard really good things about this one, and I'm kind of at the point where I don't want to learn anything more about Piranesi. I don't want to look up the summary again, the synopsis. I don't want to refresh on what it's about. I just feel like I need to pick this book up and go into it blind and just fully immerse myself in it. So that's definitely one I need to read, hopefully this year. Should we pick it up soon? I still have a lot of books on my physical TBR, but I feel like we are doing a pretty good job at whittling down. So maybe Do we add this one? I don't know. Okay, top sci-fi this year. Number 1, Project Hail Mary, of course. Numbers 2, 4, and 6, though. Again, all even numbers. Why are all of these just perfectly spaced out? But 3 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. So Dungeon Crawler Carl, Carl's Doomsday Scenario, and the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. I think you guys know my thoughts on DCC. I tried my best. I made a really, really good effort on this series. Made it to book 5, finished book 5, and at that point, I did decide to DNF the series from there. I think there are so many interesting things happening in this book. I think, I have to applaud Matt Dinniman. I think he is, on one hand, he is being so innovative in the writer-reader space, with how he's writing these books, with having his Patreon and letting his Patreon members vote on certain plot points that are going to happen next. Also, the fact that I think he releases chapter by chapter as he writes his books to his Patreon members, which I think is just so fun, so interactive. So I love what he's doing for the reader space. I also do love that he is getting non-readers to read books. I think this Dungeon Crawler series has kind of broken that barrier of readers to non-readers, and people who don't normally read are reading this series, which I think is, always great to, convince non-readers to read. So I applaud him for that. I also think there are very interesting things being explored in these books, with the terrible things that this controlling alien government is doing to their people, with kind of, the integration of AI and having that run rampant in this world. And I think there are some interesting things developing with the characters as well by book 5. I just don't love this writing style. I just don't think lit RPG is for me. The amount of grinding and detail and everything just gets me so bored, if I'm gonna be completely honest. And so while I feel like this is the type of series where I do kind of want to know what happens for the rest of the story, I just do not want to take the time to get there. I don't want to go through these entire books just to have a couple of the plot points progress per book. So I feel like this is the type of series where honestly I might just end up looking up spoiler summaries or just asking friends to spoil me and just, be like, tell me what happened in this one. I'm genuinely not going to continue reading it, but I kind of am curious to see what happens to Princess Donut, what happens to Carl, what happens to Katya, what happens to Mongo. I want to know what happens to the characters. I just don't want to read the books anymore. Number 3 is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. Read this quite a few years ago. Surprised that it's in the top 3. Also surprised that this is in the sci-fi category, because I would say this book is more dystopian and not really sci-fi. But I think I would put I Who Have Never Known Men in a lit fic category over a sci-fi category. So interesting that it's in here. Also interesting that it's getting a resurgence, because again, this book came out a few years ago. I read it a couple years ago, but I have been seeing this book kind of pick up steam and get hype this year. But I do think this is a worthy read. It's not the type of book that will give you answers to everything, which I was kind of frustrated at while reading this, but I do think it is very interesting. It makes you think about societies, and I think this book gave a really interesting look on what happens when you leave a group of women alone. And at number 5, Red Rising. I'm surprised there are not more Red Rising books in here, but maybe I feel like when the date of Red God gets announced, I think Red Rising is gonna move up, take over this category. Maybe it'll be fully Dungeon Crawler Carl and Red Rising. Okay, top horror, I have read 0 out of these 6, which I do want to read more horror this year. I know I've been saying that. I've only read 1 horror so far this year, so I haven't been doing a great job at that. But guys, once the fall season comes, once winter comes, you bet I'm going to be stepping onto my horror game. So we have at number 1, Hidden Pictures. Number 2, We Used to Live Here. Number 3, what is that? That's so small. Oh, Frankenstein. Okay, again, is Frankenstein horror or is Frankenstein a classic? Do we think classics should be in these kind of more contemporary categories? Number 4, Tender is the Flesh. Number 5, Strange Pictures. Number 6, Bunny. Okay, you know what? I actually have the sequel. I have We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad on my physical TBR because the publisher sent it to me, but I've never read Bunny. So I feel like Bunny actually is one that I need to pick up so I can read it, and then I can actually read We Love You Bunny because that's the sequel. Actually, I think, is it a sequel or is it a prequel? I think I've heard mixed things on whether you should read We Love You Bunny after Bunny or if it's fine to read it first. If you have read these 2 books, let me know your personal opinion if I should pick up Bunny and read that one first. I am also very curious to read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. I think that'll probably be one of the first 5 horror books I end up picking up because that one's already on my radar. Top memoirs, I probably also don't have much to say about this, but great top 6. We have Strangers, we have I'm Glad My Mom Died, Nobody's Girl, The House of My Mother Educated, and Told You So, and same with general nonfiction. I don't have much to say about this, although yeah, I feel like a lot of these books are the nonfiction that you just see everywhere. And then history and biography, I literally have nothing to say about this category. And that officially wraps all of the lists of the most read books so far this year. Definitely interesting. Some expected, some unexpected. I mean, I expected Freida to be up there, but I didn't expect her to literally take over the entire mystery thriller category. I definitely got a few recs going through this list, some books that have been on my radar but now have bumped even higher on my radar because I've seen them on this list, so I definitely enjoyed going through those. That being said, I am gonna leave you guys here for now, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what you thought of these lists. Was there anything that surprised you? If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!